to be talking about the Raiders and that Raider win, baby. Week 13, hell of a game. Really exciting game with the Raiders and the Chargers. I was there for week 1 with Raiders versus Chargers. Sadly, we did lose that game, and we barely lost that first game, and the team hasn't been together. And what's crazy is we had more of all the pieces on week 1 than week 13. We don't have Renfro, we don't have Waller, of course. A lot of defensive guys are injured. We did get Nate Hobbs back, which is great for this matchup, but he is like essentially playing with one hand out there. What a fantastic win for the Raiders. We move, I believe, to 5-8. Is it 5-8? 5-7, I believe. 5-7. And we do have a chance to make the playoffs. There's still a lot of games left. This is a big win. It makes you think as a Raider fan watching this game, all the games that we have lost close or should have won. We should have beat the Colts. We should have beat the Colts. We should have beat the Kansas City Chiefs. All the blown leads, this and that. But we're at where we are. The team is starting to now come together and look good. It took a while, and we're gonna just really kind of talk about this big win, some of the things that I think, in my opinion, I think this team is coming together. I think they're now getting the rhythm, the chemistry. You have Josh Jacobs, who has been playing out of his mind all year. He's only had a handful of games where he was just subpar, but he still was putting good yardage and he was still doing work. But this guy's been a monster all year. I mean, he should be in the MVP discussion. And one of the personal MVPs of this team on the other side is Max Crosby. This guy's motor keeps going. He's playing his hardest. He's playing his heart out. This, like, every defensive play, the guy is on the other side and he's still in for a tackle when the run is going away from him or a play is going away from him. He has been an absolute stud. He doesn't quit. But Josh Jacobs, man, it's going to be very interesting on the offseason. We're not there yet, but Josh Jacobs has been just an absolute monster. This is what we needed to do. Just in some of the other games that we lost in, kind of like, when we had the lead or close, because Josh Jacobs is the key to winning these games. It's the run game and the offensive line. I can't believe it, man. They actually are gelling. I thought these guys have been a disaster from the get-go, but these guys are actually gelling and they're actually producing some results, man. Their pass protection has been great. The run game absolutely has been phenomenal. Like, stitching this offensive line together, this is not the worst offensive line in the league. You would say Colts are, the Rams, but not the Raiders. Surprisingly, the Raiders have been able to sustain this offensive line and to be consistent, which is absolutely fantastic. So with the Raiders and Chargers, I think we all knew that Keenan Allen was running his mouth. I always say, I've always told all my Raider buddies, or not my Charger buddies, dude, I don't care if you got the first game because we're always going to get that second game, baby. We're always going to get the second game. Last year, we got them out of the playoffs. This game was just as important for the Chargers as for the Raiders. It was a true kind of playoff game because now the Chargers are 6-6. They are not doing very good, and we are now in the hunt for a playoff spot where the Jets lost over the weekend. So it's crazy to say, but the Raiders do have a chance, and the Raiders' schedule isn't that bad. The only team you got to kind of circle the what if is Kansas City. Kansas City, just like the Bengals, always beating Kansas City. The Kansas City Chiefs always have our number. But last game we were so competitive, yet we just can't sustain the we can't close it out, man. We cannot close out when it comes to Kansas City. It's always either down to the wire or it's a blowout. With last game, obviously we were kicking their ass and then they came back and won. But so Kansas City is definitely a circle on the schedule because they are not only a rival in a division game, but they're probably we can maybe only drop one more game. Other than that, we pretty much have to win out. We have to go on a streak. We have to win every game that realistically every game that's coming our way, and it can be done. San Francisco just lost Jimmy Garoppolo. That's going to be a huge game. If you are absolutely, everybody wants to see Raiders versus Niners. That is the game. That's the game to go to. And we have a shot. I mean, of course, the Niners run game with McCaffrey, they still have Debo. Like, they're an injury prone team, but losing Jimmy is a huge blow for the Niners. But one of our weaknesses is the like sustaining those big time kind of plays sometimes. McCaffrey is just a shifty back. I mean, Jonathan Taylor got his mojo against us. Jonathan Taylor wasn't doing anything until he played us, and now he's getting his mojo back, and now he's just really like having a solid kind of second half of the season. Now the Raiders have to look for that. They got to look for Debo. We do allow those big plays. Ayuk could still, I think Ayuk is going to have a good game against the Raiders. So, but to have Jimmy go down, this gives us a little bit more of a slight edge because we might get, at that point, we might get Renfro back. We might get Waller back. I think this team is just gelling so much, especially with Devante and Derek Carr really fighting. The 1-2 punch has been there. It just sucks that it hasn't been there consistent from the beginning. But now it's just really now Adams has been just playing out of his mind, and Carr has been throwing him the ball. I'll get to Carr in a minute though, but so the Niners is a game we could absolutely win. Another one is the Thursday night game this week against the Rams. The Rams are pretty much done. They're out of it. I don't know if Aaron Donald is going to be out or not. I know he has a lingering injury. The season's over. I would think they would just shut him down. I know Aaron Donald wouldn't want to do that, but a Rams matchup that, if you looked at the beginning of the season, was going to be absolutely horrendous for us because there was a stacked team, with Cooper Kupp and stuff. Now looks like a W if they get the job done. Like, obviously, when we play against teams that you think we should get the W, it never happens that way. We don't dominate like what the Eagles do, or sometimes the Vikings, and sometimes the Bengals, or who else? The Cowboys. We're just not that team. We always seem to like to play on the same level as like mediocre teams, and But this schedule is not too bad, man. We can really pull it off. I was very impressed watching this game when it came to finally the defense kind of stepping up. And Herbert is no joke. The guy still had over 300 yards. He did have a TD. But the difference was he was getting pressured. Week one, he was getting pressured, but he was able to move out of the pocket. That's why I was super impressed with Herbert. He was able to move out of the pocket. He was able to hit his targets, accuracy. Like, Herbert is a really good quarterback. I will never say he's not. He's not a fantastic quarterback. The Chargers do have a special player on that team, and of course Austin Eckler being one of the best running backs in the game. But costly fumble from him. I believe, yeah, Herbert didn't throw no interceptions, but a costly fumble from Austin Eckler. And the bonehead, I don't know, Chargers fans have to be losing their minds. For years, their coach makes stupid calls, just like, I'll get to Josh McDaniels in this game for a minute. But the Chargers coach makes he does not respect the Raiders. I don't know, I think they did 5 attempts on 4th down, and they only got 3 of them. This guy just doesn't respect the Raiders. Doesn't respect Raider Nation. He thinks he could get the 4th down conversions all the time, and that's usually the Chargers' downfall, is not converting a lot of these 4th down and not playing the position battle. The field advantage. So, or not the field advantage, but trying to pin us back or anything like that. They really go for it. They roll the dice, and a lot of times they don't get it on us. We're rival teams. We know each other like the back of our hand. We as the Raiders on offense did do a couple, once again, flea flicker. We did a couple of questionable calls once again, especially with the 3rd and 1 and throwing in end zone, almost getting a touchdown in end zone. But at that point, you just got to run the ball. 3rd and 1, you have Josh Jacobs. Even if you do a fullback run, you got to run the ball, Josh McDaniels. Derek Carr, though, 16 of 30, 250, two TDs, one interception, which could have gone either way. It looked like it was a pass interference. And then Chargers got it, ran it back for the end zone. A lot of people wanted that flag, but it is what it is. Carr honestly shouldn't have thrown that ball in so much coverage in that area. I think he was looking at Mac Hollins' way. And then when he doesn't look at Mac Hollins, Mac Hollins is wide open for a TD, but he went, I believe, the Devante Adams route. And that was the one time Devante just couldn't really pull it in. But some good throws by Carr this time. He's really finding his rhythm. The thing that scares me is that he's always just throwing two touchdowns. He's never really eclipsing three. He's never going four. That touchdown ratio needs to go up, especially with Waller and Renfro coming back. That's not going to cut it, man, with the offense that you have. Now, if you look at the offense right now, a lot of people will say, well, Carr has no excuse, but Carr has not had his weapons all year, and yet he's still putting pretty good numbers. The interception, and a lot of times, a lot of his guys do drop the ball, like Foster Moreau. Foster Moreau is such a great tight end. The problem is he drops the damn ball at the wrong time. He made this amazing catch to get a first down, but then he drops the next one, an easy pass. So Foster Moreau, a stud, but he needs to be consistent. He needs to get better. He needs to be able to catch these balls. So yeah, Josh Jacobs, though, the beast, Josh Jacobs, 26 carries, 144, one touchdown. And that one touchdown, I think it was like 15, 20 yards out, and he broke it and he got into the end zone. Fantastic. Carlson actually missed a field goal, which he should have hit, but it actually went a little bit to the left. He kind of missed that one. Crosby was a beast, but the guy, dude, finally showing up was Chandler Jones. I believe he had 3 sacks, 5 tackles, 1 assist. Nate Hobbs, great to have this guy back playing with one hand, 8 tackles. So Hobbs was actually doing really, really good. But Chandler Jones, that's what we need. We need Chandler Jones to step up. And some of these step ups that Herbert was doing, Chandler Jones was right there at the right time. He made a couple moves where to get to Herbert. This is what we needed from him in the very beginning, and I think we would have won a lot of these close games if Chandler Jones really stepped it up. Chandler Jones, when I watch him, he doesn't have a lot of like crazy techniques, swim moves underneath. He kind of bull rushes the offensive lineman and then he tries to get to the quarterback. I do think since he's kind of he's not a small guy, but compared to a lot of the offensive linemen that he's going against, he looks comparatively small. I think his techniques need to get improved as the season go on, but it's great to see this guy actually stepping up and helping this team get a W. So McDaniels, man, Josh McDaniels, Raider team, I don't necessarily think they're playing for him, but I don't think they're necessarily against him at this point. I think they're a lot of these discussions in the locker room and the practices. Of course, Josh McDaniels talking to Mark Davis. I think everybody's seeing. They're human beings. They do see what's in the media. They see probably what fans are saying online. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of the Raiders actually watch a lot of the YouTube because YouTube's such a big thing in our lives now. I'm pretty sure they watch a lot of YouTube channels, seeing what a lot of these guys say, and I think they understand, especially Devante Adams understands and Carr, that the Raider Nation is just getting hit left and right, and they deserve better. Max Crosby twittering or Instagram, Raider Nation deserves better, and I think the team does feel that way. I think one of the guys that they were talking about, or Derek Carr was talking about, who's not really in it, has been Waller. Waller's been out for such a long time for his hamstring injury, but you got to remember he is like he's off the drugs and stuff. He doesn't take painkillers or anything like that. And there's probably is some other guys that just don't buy into Josh McDaniels' ideals. Josh McDaniels, I still think we should fire him. I still think we should not even have this guy as a head coach. I think it's more of the team morale, the team coming together. We've seen this at the end of the year that is producing a lot of these wins, being frustrated of not winning these close games. I think Josh McDaniels is steering the ship, but he's still making boneheaded decisions. That 3rd and 1, instead of running the ball, you throw it. These not only are you wasting time, but you're giving you more set up more opportunities to get to the red zone. The problem with the Raiders is they need to continue to try to get touchdowns and not field goals. I was talking about the Chargers coach and him going through a lot of fourth downs and playing that game. Sometimes Josh McDaniels has to do the same. There has been a couple times where he's gone fourth down and he's succeeded, but then there's a lot of questionable calls on when he tries to get this first down, and it's like, just stop overthinking it. Josh McDaniels is still, in my opinion, if he hasn't learned all the constant 3rd and 1s and just give it to the best back in the league, and you're trying to be pretty with it. He has been doing this since week 1, and we're in week 13, and he continues to do stupid stuff like that. This Raiders streak, and don't get me wrong, we have not played very good teams to get on this streak. I mean, we've still lost those close games. You got to remember. I guess Seahawks would be the team that is the most to boast about, but I knew the Broncos are just terrible. They're worse than us. The Chargers seem to be like the Raiders, but when they play the Raiders, go down to our level, and it's always a close game. It could either go back and forth, but I always feel like the Raiders always have a slight edge of coming out with that dub because Chargers are just the Chargers. Uh, so with Josh McDaniels, he can't be overly enthusiastic. And the Raider Nation, you have to keep your kind of expectations still medium, because we are, even though their schedule is looking pretty good, there is the Kansas City Chiefs. And even if we do make the playoffs, do we really want the same thing like last year, where we're a very good team, yet we're still not Super Bowl caliber? We lost to eventually the team that went to the Super Bowl, the Bengals. I don't want to just go into the playoffs to lose. I want to go to the playoffs to win. And honestly, this team, other than my shakiness of the defensive coordinator and the defense itself, but when you get all your pieces back for the offense is now starting to kind of have a rhythm, have an identity, and starting to click. Now it's going to be interesting when Renfro and Waller come in, because they haven't played for so long. Does this offense go back to like take a step back instead of taking a step forward? Because that could very well be too. The chances of the Raiders going to the playoffs, in my opinion, I'm still going to stick with, I don't think they make it, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that they don't. But if they go on a winning streak, this is the question I gotta say. Is before I thought right away, yeah, they're gonna cut Carr to save that 30 million. But if Carr and the team and the way Carr and Adams are looking right now, does Josh McDaniels, and Josh McDaniels is coming back, even though I want another head coach there, but at this point you gotta ride with Josh McDaniels to the next season and see if his system, if he learns from his freaking mistakes and he doesn't have a big ass ego and is able to actually just man up and see the faults he's doing every time he overthinks a lot of things. Does this offense improve and get better? And the offense that we want to see this year actually is in the wait next year. So the big question is, do you cut Carr still at the end of this year? And I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but if they do, then it's fantastic, because I mean, we still are a dangerous team. Nobody wants to see us in the playoffs. Maybe they do, but nobody. But they're going to be in a rude awakening, because the Raiders do play their asses off, and they did almost take out the Bengals. They were one play away from tying, I believe, the Bengals last year. So now that Carr and Devante Adams have just been the chemistry we wanted to see in the beginning, and it took some time, but now we're seeing it consistent. Does Josh McDaniel keep rolling with Derek Carr next year? Because Carr still has this extension. It's just whether we're ready to move on from him next year and go to a future, or do we still believe that, listen, we still have guys here. We extended Renfro, we extended Waller, we extended Crosby. Josh is the only one that needs to be extended, but is he really going to come back next year because he has been balling out? if I was Josh, I would go for whoever gives him the most money and even maybe be a contender. And not necessarily saying that we're not a contender next year, but they did do Josh Jacobs kind of dirty by not or waiving his fifth option. They needed to sign him, and it's kind of hard because we did see Waller and he got his money, and now he's kind of sitting out, and we don't necessarily know the extent of this like crazy injury. Like we know it's a hamstring, but we don't know what else this might be, or it may be just the hamstring. But we saw him get his money, and it's kind of funny that it's just like, he's just not on the field a lot. He wasn't. He was kind of like that last year. He is like what the highest paying tight end. So to give it, it sucks because you wanted to see what Josh would do this year, and now that he's blowing up, which is fantastic. The problem is the Raiders, can they even afford Josh Jacobs at the end of this year? And Josh is such a great this game. You just saw there was a couple times the offensive lineman missed their assignments blocking wise, and yet Josh was able still to make the tackler miss and gain at least positive yards. That's the one thing about great. That's Josh Jacobs when he's healthy, is that he's one of the best when it comes to contact and yards after contact. So Josh Jacobs is the man this year, especially for Raider Nation. But are we going to be able to pay the man? I think Crosby is a must. You have to, and then you have Nate Hobbs. I think Nate Hobbs is still on his rookie contract. He's gonna want money. Nate Hobbs is the real deal. He did recover a fumble with one hand. Josh Jacobs did fumble this game though. He did fumble it, but we forgive him because he's just been putting up such crazy numbers. But the Raiders, after this week 13, and then a lot of just great momentum, great aura, the team seems to be building together. We have to, I believe, as much as I hate it, we have to ride with Josh McDaniels for now. But the play calling, his ideas are still just really, really bad. And you got to, Raiders still only won 27-20. It was really the defense that finally stepped up, even though they allowed that last touchdown to put Chargers at 20. You had Keenan Allen coming and grabbing a TD and then running his mouth. But the Raiders at the end still finally stopped. It wasn't like last year at the end of the game where Herbert was converting fourth down after fourth down. We finally got us just 8 seconds left, stopped them, and just ended the game. Which a smart move that Josh did do. Even though I think everybody would be like, you got to maybe throw the ball to get the first down at that situation. But he played his card, he played his book, he ran the ball, he wasted time. And even though Eckler caught a good one, it got 25 yards, 20 yards after the catch. And then Herbert had a shot maybe to go through the end zone or do some trickery or whatever. We stopped them, and that's the biggest reason too. And the penalties weren't that bad. There was a lot of times where I thought the defense was going to get called on just some bullshit penalties because the refs like to screw us over too. But that didn't happen. They kind of the refs actually let them play. Of course, they definitely missed a lot of what the Chargers were doing. Some of the interference calls on there. But overall, the Raiders are looking actually really, really good. They're looking like a team finally that we've been waiting for from the beginning of the year. Now, are they going to be able to win out? I don't think they are. Excuse me. I don't think they are because I just think I just don't have faith, not necessarily on the team. I don't have faith on Josh McDaniels. There was still some times where Carr was absolutely frustrated, and I think he was believing like, why are we doing certain things, especially in the last 2 minutes? Why didn't we call timeout to have a little bit of time left to kind of drive the ball instead of like settling trying for a field goal? Maybe we could have had some more time to go to the end zone. These are calls that I'm questioning on the Josh McDaniels experiment. And I still think this guy is not a very good coach, but I'm glad that the team is still coming together to find a ways to win. With Renfro and Waller out, a lot of Raiders banged up and stuff, but little by little, we're getting people back. I do think in the offseason, we still need to adjust this offensive line. We still need to get some depth on there. I still think the defense, we need the middle, man. We need some defensive tackles really, really bad. and we're still kind of playing a little bit too far off when on these third downs, especially like 4th and 12. And then Herbert was able to drop a dime to Keenan and still win it. Robertson was just a little bit too short. He played the ball pretty good. He just couldn't win that battle. We need signings on the defense really, really bad, but I'm super, super glad that they actually stepped up this game. This was the game they had to step up because it's great to get 27 points, but it's even better to hold the team at 20 all for 4 quarters. So, hats off to the defense. Hats off to the offense. Finally, all of them coming together. Now, I hope Raider Nation realize, and I hope realistically they understand that even before the season started, the Raiders were not. It's not a Madden game. The Raiders were not going to go every drive and score a touchdown, or score points. This Raider team is still building. They're starting to click a little bit more. They're still kind of run a little slow sometimes, but they're starting to like really click and have drives, and that's what you absolutely need is these long, lengthy drives. And is this team, it's just playing like a team, and I just love it, man. I just love seeing the Raiders finally doing something that's bringing a smile to my face and finally clicking. So we shall see if the Raiders can win out, and they could technically lose one more game, but we don't want that. We want them to win out so they can make it to the playoffs. Now, is this team strong enough to compete in the playoffs? That's the question. It all really depends on actually Carr. It depends on Carr, and it depends on the defensive coordinator Patrick Graham's scheme on the playoff teams. It's those two. I'm gonna put it on those two. Josh McDaniels is one. Of course, it's on him too because he's calling the plays. He's having the game plan. But if we get into the playoffs, it's mostly those two. Derek Carr is the guy that he needs to throw more than 2 touchdowns. He needs to get at least more than 250 yards if they really want to make a true run to the Super Bowl. Patrick Graham needs to consistently have a great game plan with these guys that he has that are starting to gel a little bit more. Luckily, he'll have maybe has some more guys coming back. Nate Hobbs is absolutely back. Maybe having these guys really kind of not really overcomplicate it and just really be simplified, but having these guys really play, especially if they're going one-on-one matchups or whatever. He is the key. The defense is always the key to having a great run to the Super Bowl. If the defense can really make something happen, do turnovers. That was the main reason that we won this game was the turnover with Eckler, and then also holding them to a couple of those 4th downs and a couple of those 3rd downs, which was key. Then we can win. We can go far. But first, we need to make the playoffs, and we need to win out the games. And that is a very good possibility, too. But it's not going to be an easy road whatsoever. The Raiders are the Raiders, and sometimes they could falter as they play in those levels, even though they're playing against backup quarterbacks or whatever. Some people are out. But there is an opportunity right here. It's just the Raiders have to take it. So I'm Dan the Man, get down, son. I wanted to talk a little bit of Raiders. What a game. What a season so far, ups and downs. Now we're going up. So can this actually switch from last year where we won in the beginning, then we started losing, then we started winning again? Or is this happening to us where it's just the complete opposite? We'll see. They need to win out. I think they can do it. I don't have faith they're going to do it, just not necessarily on the team, but on Josh McDaniels, because Josh McDaniels, I've seen all too familiar times where he actually lost the game for the Raiders, and it wasn't really the players, it was the coach. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for the 7K. Check out all my short videos. Check out all my videos in general. I will talk to you guys next time. We're playing against the Rams Thursday night. I wanted to go to this game, but it was such an awful season from the start, and I really honestly didn't think we have a chance for the playoffs, but now we do. Maybe I will go to the game still. I don't know, but it's a must. It's a must win every game, of course, going forward. We should be able to beat the Rams at this point. We'll see. Thank you guys. Till next time, we'll talk Raiders.